appreciate y'all listening in, everybody that's around the world, around the country, kicking off summer, getting started, wherever you may be. And we in the heat of the playoff season. Wow, we into round 2, and I think it's getting very, very interesting. And I'm really looking forward to how things are going to turn out. But with no further ado, let's just jump into what's been going on this week, what's been happening. We're going to break down a few topics as we just explore what's happening on the court and off the court. But first, before anything else, business aside, money aside, all that stuff, just as a pure lover of the game, just loving to watch ballers ball, man, these playoffs are exciting to see. And we got the East and we got the West. The Nets and the Bucks is what I consider to be a blowout, although the last game was kind of a dud. And I think that was just a bad night for everybody involved. But the Nets are up 2-1. And the Bucks have another opportunity to protect home court. But are they going to do it? And if you ask me, I say nah. In fact, the last game, less than 100 points, which was just a fraction of what the Nets scored in game 2. And Giannis played a little bit better. He scored. Middleton stepped up, but I don't think they can keep up with the firepower of the Nets. And we're talking about the Nets without James Harden. And the work that KD is doing on a bad night, putting up 20, 25, 30 points on a bad night, you're in trouble. And I'll be honest, Giannis is not producing like I would expect an all-star to produce in the playoffs trying to get a chip. And I don't think they can make enough buckets. From the free throw line, he was 5 for, I don't know how many, 5 for 20. From three-point land, about the same, or even less than that, in fact. Not sure why he's trying to play the game that doesn't fit his style. He's a big dude that can take control down low. He can get to the cup at any time. He puts his head down, just goes straight for the bucket, but he just hasn't been producing. And I think the Nets are better equipped at guard, Kyrie Irving, with Durant as probably one of the best scorers in the league. And then they have Joe Harris, Blake Griffin get started. I just think it's too much for them to handle. Now, the other game in the East, we got the Sixers and the Hawks. They're playing tonight. And I think the Hawks are going to get the Sixers. Absolutely. The Sixers put up a good fight this last game, but they gave up home court advantage on the first game and got blew out. And with the help of Shake Milton, who nobody saw coming, I know they didn't game plan for that dude, and he did some nice work to step up for the 76ers. What was it? 14 points in about 13 or 14 minutes. And he was a big spark off the bench. But when you have nights where Ben Simmons is only scoring 4 points, I think they're in trouble. And they're going back to Atlanta, or they're going to Atlanta, I should say. And that is Ice Trey's playground. He is destined to be one of the leaders in this league. Icons, think about him as the next wave of Steph Curry's in the league and all-time scores. And I think he has a lot of firepower, and he's got help down low with Clint Capella, and who has been in these situations before, who's played deep into the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see how this turns out. But I expect the Hawks to do their thing, especially on their home court. And if that's the case, if they capture both at home, I think it's a done deal for the 76ers. So with that said, the East, y'all are looking at a collision course between the Nets and the Hawks. And that duo, I'm still giving it up to the Nets. And don't let James Harden come back. I have no clue if he's destined to come back, what's going to happen with him. But it's going to be quite a show, quite a performance, because you got scores on both sides of the ball that can shoot deep, which the 76ers typically don't do at scale. They have some great nights, but you got to remember 76ers leading scorer is Joel Embiid. So he's going to get his 25, 30, 40 points. But then I believe it gets suspect around consistency night in and night out. Now, stepping out west, I have to say, Utah is doing their thing. It's no accident, and it's no surprise why they're number one in the NBA.
Ingles lets it fly.
And Donovan Mitchell is having his coming out party right now, and he is showing that he's a scorer up there with Dame, with KD, with Kyrie, etc. And he's showing us why, and he's doing it on the big stage, playing the Clippers. And I have to say, though the Jazz are playing at a very high level, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. The Clips, on the other hand, I think they're underperforming. And what I would expect to see out of Kawhi in Game 7 with the Mavs, that should be coming out every night, and it's not. And I'm not sure they can stop the weapons that the Jazz have. I mean, I'm talking about down low. You got Rudy Gobert, who's putting in work, who is playing physical, who is taking control of the boards. And then you have Donovan Mitchell outside. And he's on fire. And if the Clips don't make it, I'm worried about what their team looks like next year. Because this is exactly why Steve Ballmer, the owner, put together the squad, and they made all those changes to bring in PG-13, Paul George, and Kawhi. And I'll be honest, I don't think they're doing their job. In fact, if it wasn't for Game 6 with the Mavs and the Mavs breaking down, I'm not sure the Clips would even be here today. So let's stay tuned, but definitely think it's going to be Utah taking on the Clips. And then the Suns and Nuggets is the other game that I'm really inspired to watch. Again, you got inspired shooters, inspired young squad led by CP3 or Chris Paul and Monty Williams. I would say it's a combination of Monty Williams and Chris Paul in this case, Monty Williams being the coach, because they had these guys motivated, very similar to what you saw CP3 do with Oklahoma City last year, and bringing together a bunch of what a lot of folks around the league call the band of misfits, who necessarily wouldn't be starters on any other team, but he was able to motivate, inspire, and get those guys to play together. And that's exactly what's happening this year, except with a lot more talent. Devin Booker, don't forget, he was number 3 highest scorer in a game with 70 points against Boston a few years ago. And he can score. In fact, I think he has one of the most beautiful jump shots in the league. If you were to go to a camp, if you were to go to a shooting coach and they told you and instructed you on how to shoot a jump shot, it would look exactly like his shot. And he's on display with his ability to be able to score and put up buckets. CP3 is doing his thing. DeAndre Ayton is also stepping into his own as a defender, as a big man that takes up, that can take up space, but then can open up the floor as well. So he plays a very versatile role on that squad. Now you're not looking at him to put up threes, kind of like other guys his size or his height. But nonetheless, I think the Nuggets are in some trouble. And I think the Nuggets were in trouble when they lost Jamal Murray. Of course, yes, they have the MVP in the Joker. And I'll be honest, a question was asked to me, how do I feel about the Joker getting the MVP award? And compared to some other guys in the league. And I think the biggest reason is, one, his productivity, but number 2, and maybe more importantly, his availability. He was available for most games this year, and other guys who were in the conversation just didn't play as much, as often, and as consistently as he did. And he can put up buckets. He plays very big. He can shoot deep, and it's warranted. I definitely think he did his job this year in getting that award. But in terms of championship, getting to the finals, I don't think so. So in the West, the Suns will meet the Jazz. And out of that game, I'm torn because I want to see Donovan Mitchell do well. And I want to see a team that has Black ownership do well as well with Dwayne Wade. At the same time, CP3 and Monty Williams and that young squad, I think that's going to be a battle in and of itself as well. So definitely expect for that to be probably a tougher matchup for Utah than the Clippers. But if I had to pick, I would say it's going to be Utah for the finals. Utah and the Nets. So we'll see how this turns out as we get further into the playoffs. But we'll be watching for sure.